What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another video. FPL Harry here, and today it is blank, but more importantly, double game week 25 time. And today I'm taking you through some of the top transfer targets you need to be considering buying into your FPL teams this week. Welcome back. Double game week, blank game week 25 is here. We're going to be talking through some of those top transfer targets from the double game week teams in particular, but also a few other players you might be considering bringing into your FPL teams, planning forward depending on your chip strategy as well. Before we go any further, if you haven't already, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Over 60% of you guys watching are not subscribed, so do help out, support the channel, and like the video if you have not already. So, a quick reminder of what Game Week 25 looks like. We have the blank game week for Manchester United, Brentford, Newcastle, and Brighton. We then have the double game week for Liverpool, Wolves, Everton, and Arsenal in there as well. The easy double game weeks on paper particularly fall to Liverpool playing against Wolves and Crystal Palace, and then Arsenal as well against Leicester and Everton. So we'll be focusing particularly on some of these double game week players. We'll be focusing on Arsenal and Liverpool in particular if you don't have triple ups on Arsenal, and which Liverpool players you should be bringing into your team. But we will be covering a few other players as well. So one of the most spoken about defenders this week isn't actually a Liverpool defender or an Arsenal defender. It is Tarkowski of Everton. Again, moved from Burnley into the Everton side and has played really well and is now the focal point of that sort of new Dice defence that we are seeing. Only one attacking return for him so far this season, but I think what we need to do is review how he's got on so far under Dice in that new Everton side. They've kept 2 clean sheets so far and he's got an attacking return, plus numerous bonus points in there for him as well. With the amount of goal threat he has, their main goal threat as a team comes from set pieces, and a lot of that is just McNeil crossing it into Tarkowski. 4.3 million for me, he is the best cheap defender that you can go for, plus he has the double game week this week. Now, it's not necessarily the best double because that is that Arsenal fixture, and I do expect Arsenal to bounce back, get a bit of revenge based on what happened in the fixture previously. But I do really like what Tarkowski can offer as a 4.3 option. Now, if you can buy a defender and you're looking for a defender this week that's practically anything under 6 million, I think Tarkowski is the one to go for. I'd pick him over the Wolves defence, who also have a double game week this season, just because Everton look assured defensively. They're also confirmed to play in the blanking game week 28, which is also worth considering. Now, it is a red fixture in theory against Chelsea, but I still think it's worth considering that. So a double this week, Nottingham Forest next week, then Brentford, and then Chelsea as well, guaranteed. The best defender, as I said, under about 6 million. Now, one transfer I never recommend, and I always say don't make transfers, is a goalkeeper transfer. But when blank and doubles come around, it is weeks now that you can start considering potentially taking hits to move your goalkeepers around to make sure you've got on the right ones. Now, if you have Kepa in your squad at the moment, I don't think this is the right transfer to make, and I have Kepa in my squad, and I don't think I'll be moving sideways to go and get Pickford this week. However, if you don't have Kepa and you are looking to potentially move on a goalkeeper, you are looking to add another double game week player, I do like what Pickford, particularly at his price of 4.4 million, practically the cheapest starting goalkeeper we have outside of Danny Ward, of course, who not keeping any clean sheets anytime soon. The double this week, and then of course he does play in the blanking game week 28. So if you don't have a goalkeeper likely to play in that week, bringing in Pickford this week doesn't only benefit you in game week 25, it benefits you in game week 28 as well. He's very low owned, and if you don't have a route to Tarkowski, for example, for this week, it is another way of going and getting that Everton defence in. Now, I don't think covering the Everton defence is that essential, but again, if you have Danny Ward as your only starting goalkeeper this week, or you are maybe looking to downgrade Edison to free up a bit of money to make another transfer, Pickford's probably the number one goalkeeper I'd be buying into my team this week. Next up, moving outside of Everton, it is Ollie Watkins, 7.2 million striker, predicted to score 24 points over the next 6 game weeks. Now, he doesn't have a double game week at all in the sort of near future. He might get one in game week 29, but of course, that double game week in game week 29 is yet to be confirmed. But the fixtures on the horizon do look really nice. Everton, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Bournemouth in the next 4. And he has a goal in all of his last 4 games. Aston Villa have not failed to score in a single game under Unai Emery. And Watkins is that focal point of the attack. Now, when it comes to penalties, we don't know. Watkins has taken some Aston Villa penalties in the past. We don't know if it's going to be him. So don't go buying him based off that. But 7 goals, 5 assists, and a lot of them coming since Unai Emery has taken charge. Seems to be bringing out the best in Ollie Watkins. If you are looking looking to get a striker and you can't afford potentially going with the likes of Darwin Núñez this week, who again is going to be very popular, it is worth considering bringing in Ollie Watkins. Again, you do need to consider your chip strategy with this one because game week 28, Liverpool are likely to blank if you are buying Darwin. However, Watkins and Aston Villa have a confirmed fixture in game week 28 of Bournemouth at home. So a fixture I really like there. I think he could do really well, and he's shown it under Unai Emery, and that team and Aston Villa look a lot better as well. Now, I know this was 5 players to buy and we've only covered 3, but we are going to talk generally about a lot of the players from the 2 key double game week teams in Arsenal and then in Liverpool as well in just a moment. Now, the first thing to cover with Arsenal is a lot of the talk over the past couple of weeks was Martinelli and Ben White. Do we think we should be keeping them? Do we think we should be selling them? My basic sort of conclusion on what to do with these two is Martinelli, I do think, is a sell. Yes, if you hold Martinelli, you got that goal late on in that game in game week 24. Congratulations for the points. But we did see him get benched. And yes, it was a counter-attacking goal. It wasn't necessarily Martinelli's brilliance that got those points for you. He might start both in the double in game week 25, just like he started both in the double in game week 23, but it's then the quick fixture after in game week 26 as well. I think Trossard starts one of the next 3 fixtures, starts one of the next games in the next 2 game weeks effectively. So I do think it's worth moving sideways now. Again, plan further forward. It will benefit your team going forward. If you still have him, I would be moving to Saka or Odegaard. And in theory, it might not pay off for a -4 this week, but I still think, as I said before in game week 23, I would do it for a -4 for both Saka and Odegaard. Now, the other one, Ben White. Ben White did miss out in one of the doubles in game week 23, but in game week 24, he looked so good, looked so attacking going down that right-hand side, was one of the best players for me in that Arsenal lineup. So although he's not one of the players that I'd be buying into my team now, I wouldn't be wildcarding in and going for Ben White. I wouldn't be free hitting and having Ben White. I would have Gabriel as the best defender still for Arsenal. I would be keeping Ben White if I had him now, and I wouldn't be transferring him out anymore. So White to keep, Martinelli to sell. In terms of my ranking, it hasn't changed. Odegaard and Saka are still top, and Nketiah is in theory 3rd, but Jesus could be back by game week 26, if not game week 27. Gabriel is 4th. Probably when Jesus starts to come back, he'll slot in for Nketiah. But if you are buying Nketiah, you do need to have that in the back of your mind that Jesus might be back soon. Now, we do have, of course, Arsenal as being one of the key transfer targets, but a lot of us have already tripled up on Arsenal. If not, then tripling up on Arsenal is the #1 priority. However, the main focus this week, we've spoken a bit about Everton. We've covered the Wolves defence a little bit, not being quite as good as the likes of Tarkowski. The big team that we have less to discuss here, and the #1 players that you are buying this week, I think, are those Liverpool assets. The ownership of Liverpool assets are very, very low, particularly because they played Newcastle in game week 24, where people weren't sure of how that game would go. Of course, the Nick Pope red card in that fixture as well. Before we go any further, we're going to try and hit 1,000 likes on the video. If you are enjoying these videos, if they are helpful to you, make sure you've dropped that like and subscribe if you have not already. But the top Liverpool transfer targets. For me, Mo Salah is #1. For me, Mo Salah is the most nailed attacker to play both games in the double game week. Even when they're beating Newcastle 2-0, he played 90 minutes. For me, Salah is the #1, and he will be the most highly captain player going into game week 25, likely to be my FPL captain as well. Now, second and third, I have gone with double defence in the fullbacks. Robertson, very good for bonus, but his attacking threat is not quite as high, so Trent does come higher than him. Baseline bonus, Robertson is slightly better, so if you can't afford Trent, do not worry about it. I still like Robertson as a pick. Trent does come slightly higher, ranked 2nd, with Robertson 3rd. Now, Darwin, yellow flagged. We have seen pictures of him back in training, so I expect that yellow flag to be gone by the time that game week 25 does come around. 8.7 million is my 4th ranked, and he's the 2nd highest ranked attacker. Now, I do still want to put a little bit of caution in your minds about the rotation that there could be for Liverpool going into this double game week in game week 25. We have Darwin, we have Gakpo, we have Firmino, we have Jota, all back fit and all back fighting for minutes now. You would expect Salah to play both games on the right, which means those 4 options are rotating in 2 places in the middle and on that left-hand side. Liverpool, of course, played Newcastle. They then played the Champions League in midweek. They then played the double game week that they have with Crystal Palace and Wolves. And then it's against Manchester United in game week 26 as well. So it does feel like if there's going to be rest for some of their key starters, although Darwin, for me, is in their main sort of front 3, it would come in the double game week for me again. They have the Champions League. Let's wait and see that lineup. For example, if Darwin doesn't start, then that makes him a much better and much more appealing asset for the double. But if Darwin, for example, starts in the Champions League, it would worry me about the minutes I think he's going to get in the double game week. Next to him, we have Gakpo. Gakpo does come in number 5 just because he's fully fit. Firmino and Jota have been returning, so I don't think they'll start both. Gakpo, do I think he's going to start both in the double? Probably not, but if he doesn't start in the Champions League again, then that maybe boosts his appeal. He is cheaper, he is a midfielder, so it is easier to go and get Gakpo into your teams. Van Dijk is next. I would just go and get Robbo. I'd find the 0.3 over Van Dijk, to be honest, but Van Dijk may be slightly more nailed. Could see a rotation in at left back for Robertson if the fixtures get congested as they are now. Now, to be honest, beyond Van Dijk, I wouldn't really be buying anyone. Gomez is in there just because I know some people have asked about him. 4.3 million. I don't think he's nailed to play both. Matip, Konate coming back from injury again. I think they could start. I wouldn't be buying Joe Gomez even at his price of 4.3. I would buy Tarkowski over him. Alisson in goal. I spoke about Pickford. Alisson's okay if you really want to go there and you don't have a way to go and get one of the defenders in, but you have an easy route in goal. For example, Edison. Maybe you want to go and buy Alisson in your goalkeeper slot. So he's in there. Joe Gomez is fine, but I probably wouldn't buy him. The two that aren't on here, of course, is Jota and Firmino. Again, I'd be very surprised if they play both in the double, so I wouldn't be buying them. To be honest, I wouldn't be buying anyone that doesn't fall into the top 4 picks there. The bottom 4 all have enough sort of downside. Van Dijk, the only one that I think out of them will play both. Of course, Alisson will, but I don't love goalkeeper transfers. Van Dijk, I'd go and buy Robertson. Gomez, Gakpo, I don't think will play both, and Alisson, it's a goalkeeper transfer. So in terms of Liverpool assets, I think 2 is great for the double. I think Salah and Trent is the optimal 2. If you want to go Darwin up front and a bit of a punt after the Liverpool Champions League lineup and he's fit for Gameweek 25, then potentially go for it. So top 5 transfer targets for the blank double. I don't remember the last time we had both a blank and a double. Maybe I've just completely forgotten about it. If you are having Manchester United assets, I do think selling Luke Shaw, I do think selling Bruno Fernandes is fine this week if you're getting some double game week players in. I would keep Marcus Rashford. Brentford, Brighton players I would keep because they double in game week 27. Newcastle, Trippier is the only one that I would keep. If you've got Botman, Almiron, I think they're fine to sell, particularly because they play Manchester City in game week 26. In terms of the doublers, Liverpool I do like, but you do need to think about potential rotation, plus them having Manchester United in game week 26, and how happy are you to potentially have triple Liverpool in that fixture. Arsenal, triple up on them is a priority, the number one thing you should be doing. And then in terms of Wolves versus Everton, it's only defensively that I would be investing in, and I'd pick Everton over going for Wolves in my personal opinion. So we've had 3 transfer targets, we've had top Arsenal assets, we've had top Liverpool assets, so a slight change on the traditional top 5 players to buy for you going into game week 25. Thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed, if you find this all useful, don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you are new around here and you have not already, set that notification bell for a reminder of live streams and videos as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Good luck in game week 25 when it does come around. There'll be plenty more videos before then though, and I'll be back again very soon.